Hey guys, welcome back to One Stop Biology. So today we are going to discuss the fruit and the seed. And in the seed, we are going to discuss monocot as well as dicot seed. So if you remember, if you would have gone through my previous videos, you would know that we are right now at the chapter fifth, which is morphology of flowering plants. Basically, class 11th biology NCERT. And in chapter 5th, we have almost covered all the topics. We have covered the root, the stem, the leaves, then the flower, parts of the flower, which includes all the parts, as in androecium, gynoecium, right? And then we also saw placentation, right? So now we are left with fruit seed, and then we will study the last topic, which is description of some important families of the flowering plant, right? So before we start the fruit, you would be knowing that fruit is a very characteristic feature of the flowering plants, right? So basically, fruit is nothing but a mature or ripened ovary, right? So fruit is a mature or ripened ovary which is developed after fertilization. Now, there are also some cases where a fruit is formed without any fertilization of the ovary, and those fruits are known as parthenocarpic fruits. So, we also studied that there is a process where there is no fertilization in the flowering plant, and the fruit is directly or the seed is directly formed. So the fruit which is formed without fertilization is known as parthenocarpic fruit, and that process is known as parthenogenesis, right? So basically, the fruit consists of one, a wall, right? And that wall is known as pericarp. And then there are seeds present inside the fruit. So the pericarp, which is just above the seed, that may be dry and that may be fleshy, right? So when pericarp is thick and fleshy, it is differentiated into an outer epicarp, there is a middle layer, mesocarp, and then there is an inner layer, endocarp. Okay, so if you see this diagram, basically, let's see this diagram of mango and coconut. There are two different fruits, right? So if I have to label it, the outer layer of mango is epicarp. Okay, so this is epicarp, right? And the inner layer is endocarp, right? So the inner layer is endocarp. And there is a layer in between which is mesocarp. So the fleshy layer of mango which we eat is the middle layer, which is mesocarp. And then there is the seed inside, right? So in mango and coconut, the fruit is known as a drupe, right? And why so? So they develop from monocarpillary superior ovaries and are one seeded. So there is just one seed. Now in mango, the pericarp is very well differentiated into an outer thin pericarp. So the outer, layer that we peel off in mango is the thin epicarp, and there is a middle fleshy edible mesocarp, which we basically consider as the fruit and we eat it. And then there is an inner stony hard endocarp, right? In coconut, which is also a drupe, the mesocarp layer, the middle layer is fibrous layer that we see, right? So that is basically the mesocarp. So this is the structure of a fruit wherein it has a thick wall and then a seed. And then that thick wall can be fleshy and it can have multiple layers. So it can have three different layers, right? And that basically is the fruit. Now, the inner one, which is the seed. So let's study about the seed now, right? So the seed basically are the ovules. So these ovules are fertilized and that develops into the seed. So if I have to write it, ovary develops into fruit and ovule develops into seed, right? Now a seed is made of seed coat and embryo. And this embryo develops into a new plant. So this embryo has basically cotyledon. Now this can be one or two in case of monocots and dicots. Then it has embryonal axis. And on this embryonal axis we have plumule and radicle, right? So this plumule later on develops as the shoot and radicle later on develops as the root of the plant, right? So this basically is nothing but a seed. Now in case of monocots, it is one cotyledon. In case of dicot, it has two cotyledons. So we will see structure of both a dicot seed and a monocot seed. Let's start with the dicot seed, the dicotyledonous seed, right? So in case of dicotyledonous seed, the outermost covering of the seed is the seed coat. The outermost covering is the seed coat, and seed coat has two layers. Again, seed coat has two layers. The outer layer is known as testa. It is known as testa, and the inner layer is known as tegmen. Okay, so the seed of dicot, basically a dicot plant or a dicot seed, has two layers of seed coat. Outer layer is testa and inner layer is tegmen. Now, apart from that, there is a hilum, which is a scar on the seed coat through which the developing seeds are attached to the fruit. So there is a structure known as hilum, and it is nothing but a scar through which the seed is attached to the fruit, right? Now, above the hilum, there is a small pore, right? So, this small pore is known as micropyle, right? And this micropyle basically helps the seed to germinate because that micropyle, it basically let the oxygen and water to go inside the seed, okay, inside the seed coat. So within the seed coat, inside the seed coat is the embryo, and that consists of embryonal axis and two cotyledons in case of dicots, right? Now these cotyledons are fleshy. Remember that these cotyledons are fleshy and they're full of food material, so they help in providing nutrition basically, right? And then at the two ends of embryonal axis we have the radicle and the plumule. So in some seeds such as maybe castor, the endosperm formed as a result of double fertilization is a food storing tissue. So endosperms as that acts as a food storing tissue. And in plants such as bean, gram, the endosperm is not present in mature seeds, and such seeds are known as non-endospermous. So we saw earlier in the chapter that the seed might be completely, the seed might have endosperm or it does not have endosperm after the embryo development. So in some cases, the embryo, when it is developing, it completely consumes the endosperm. In some cases, it does not completely consume the endosperm and it uses it while germination. So these are the cases wherein, in some cases, we have endosperm while the seed is germinating and it acts as a food storing tissue, right? So basically, at the two ends of embryonal axis, we have radicle and plumule. And if you see the diagram here, so this is the structure of a dicot. seed. Here you can see that there is the seed coat, right? This spore is micropyle. It helps in germination. And the scar, which makes the seed attached to the fruit, is hilum. Now here if you see the diagram, these two are the cotyledons. Then you have plumule and radicle. This radicle basically develops into root and this develops into stem. Okay, so this is the structure of a dicot seed. Now let's move on to the structure of a monocot seed. How does a monocot seed look like? So if we see the structure of a monocot seed, they are endospermic. What does it mean? It means that most of the monocot seeds are endospermic. There are few exceptions always, like orchids, but it means that the endosperm is not completely consumed during embryo formation or embryo development, right? So they have some endosperm left after that. And in, say, for examples like seed of cereals like maize, right? The seed coat is membranous and it is generally fused with the fruit wall, right? So the endosperm is bulky and that stores food inside. Now the outer covering of endosperm separates the embryo by a proteinous layer, and this proteinous layer is known as alluron layer. Alluron layer. Now, in the embryo, in case of monocot seed, is small and it is situated in a groove at one end of the endosperm, right? So, it consists of one large and shield-shaped cotyledon, which is known as scutellum, and a short axis with a plumule and a radicle, right? So, the cotyledon is named very differently here in case of monocot seed. Now again, the plumule and radicle are enclosed in sheaths, in two different sheaths. Plumule is enclosed in coleoptile and radicle is enclosed in coleorhiza, right? So if you see the structure of a monocot seed, let's see the structure of a monocot seed now. So here, this is the seed. Now see, the endosperm is quite enlarged, right? And it contains the, basically that stores the food, right? It is quite bulky. And inside is the embryo, right? Now, if I see the other diagram, basically the outer layer is seed coat and it is attached with the fruit wall as we studied, right? Then comes the alluron layer. This is the outer covering of endosperm, which is which separates the embryo by a proteinous layer. And this proteinous layer is, so basically, the layer dividing the outer covering of endosperm and the embryo, right? This is the alluron layer. Then comes the endosperm inside. So we have the endosperm inside. Then is the cotyledon, which is known as then we have the plumule, and plumule is enclosed in the sheath coleoptile. And then we have the radicle, and radicle is enclosed in the sheath coleorhiza. Okay, so this is the detailed structure of a monocot seed. Now guys, we have understood both structure of a fruit and structure of a seed, and then we saw structure of both monocot and a dicot seed. So I hope you understood both the diagrams completely. You don't have any doubt. If you have any doubt, please do let me know either in the comment section of the video, or you can also message me on the WhatsApp number that is given in the description of the video. So do not hesitate in asking doubts. And in the next video, we are going to cover the very last portion, which is we'll basically cover some important families of the flowering plants. Okay, and that would be the last video, and we'll move on to the sixth chapter of class 11th NCERT biology. And guys, please do not forget to like the video and share it with your friends if you are understanding these chapters consecutively, and do not miss any videos in between, because you are going to lose on with some topics, and then you will not understand the later half of the video or the later chapters that I'm dealing with. So please do not forget to subscribe the channel as well. Thanks guys, bye bye.